I hope my comments, my remarks will be of utility for you on what you do on a daily basis. I understand a little bit about what is important for you. You do have important, significant contracts and relationships with partners, associates in Pakistan, but also outside of Pakistan. My career has now spanned over 25 years, so I'm giving up my age a little bit here. I was born and raised in Brazil, in the northeast part of Brazil. Has anyone visited Brazil?
No one.
No one. So it's an open invitation to come and see my country. So I come from the northeast part of Brazil, but I left Brazil in 1997 when I went to the US to pursue my studies, my master's degree. And since then I have been traveling the world. I have worked for multinational companies. I have taught at different universities in North America, South America, and Europe. And I now reside with my family in Singapore. So Singapore is our home since 2010. I have been to many, many countries in Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia. Pakistan, as no one has already mentioned, is my first time. My proposition to you in the next 15 minutes, I don't want to take unnecessary time from a busy schedule. My proposition to you is to give you some pointers, some remarks about trust across cultures. Trust, needless to say, is a fundamental human dynamic. Nothing happens in society without a modicum of trust. We all know the quality of our relationships based on the trust that we have on people. When there is trust, things just seem to flow more naturally. Things get done quicker, the results are better, mental health is better, physical health is better. When trust is absent, everything is a mess. Everything takes forever. There is so much control, so much monitoring. So trust is an aspect of our lives that spans both from the business but also from the personal spheres of our lives. But there is a change when we do business with people from different cultural backgrounds. Isn't that true? Does it become a bit more complex when we are trying to understand people who have been raised and understand the world from a very different perspective than we do? There's a lot more complexity in building trust when we have someone who is different from us. So that's what I have been focusing on in the last 15 plus years. I work with companies, I work with individuals, I work with students, faculty, and there is always a very simple question that people ask me. And the question is this one that you're going to see now. This is the key question that I want to address with all of you. The question is, people ask me is, how do I sometimes not get the trust that I deserve? I think I'm doing everything okay. I think I deserve to be trusted by my partner, by my client, but I'm not getting that. Potential clients are refusing to work with me. Why is that? And that is a question that relates to misplaced trust. So trust has trust is an act of communication that involves two individuals. And I'm now focusing on individual, interpersonal trust. We know that there is trust at different levels, organizational, governmental, but my comments are primarily related to trust between two individuals. And you might be thinking now, but Roberto, in our business we have contracts. We have tons of documents. We have IPOs in place. We have stacks of paper where people sign on. And I would say, before you get to that, there needs to be some level of trust. Before people decide to proceed with the transaction, there are one, two, maybe multiple human beings involved in a conversation where trust may or may not evolve. So now we have two roles to be played. One is the truster, the individual that will become vulnerable. That's a very important element to it. The truster will take a risk because he or she needs to do it. If I don't need to rely on you, we shake hands and we go our own ways. But because I cannot accomplish my task, I need to make myself vulnerable. I need to take a risk. That's the role of the truster. The trustee is the one who is going to demonstrate the necessary characteristics to be trusted. So the trustee then communicates certain characteristics. And on the research that we do across the world, it doesn't change much. There are three components that in different combinations are almost always present when two people are trying to establish some level of trust. One is ability, the second one is benevolence, and the third one is integrity. When I am trying to make a decision about whether to proceed on a deal with someone else, I first think about the competence, the technical ability. You as tax advisors, people will try to find out, are you competent? Can you actually defend my case in a competent manner? The second one is benevolence. Does this person care about me beyond the transaction, or is this person purely transactional with me? Does this person has my best interests, which may at times conflict with his at heart? And the third one is reputation. That is very difficult to change overnight. Reputation precedes us, isn't that true? Before I even talk to you, I already know a lot about the person that I'm going to be meeting. So the combination of competence, caring, and consistency is present in all human interactions with different degrees. If trust in a personal, in a family, with a friend is very different than establishing trust with a business partner, for instance. And then we have, because the trustee has communicated these characteristics, the truster now is in a position to make a decision whether to yield, to give trust on that individual or not. Now, what often happens is that when we talk about trust, we focus too much on the output, trust as a consequence, and we don't think enough about our role as a trustee. And that has been my learnings working with people across the world. Those who enter in a communication, in a conversation, being very aware of their role as the trustee, that they are the custodians of trust, they tend to be more successful. Because trust as a phenomenon is largely out of my control. I can be the best guy in town. I can dress properly, I can speak properly, I can have all my credentials, but people may not still trust me. It could be that I am not focusing on my role of trustee properly. So what I will offer you, in very general terms, some ideas about how to become a better trustee. Because that is within your control. Can you trust someone? Can you control someone's decision to trust you? Yes or no? No. Can you control your behavior, your mental roadmap when you are in a conversation with someone? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. So as a trustee, as thinking as a trustee, you get the best shot to establish a trusting relationship. And we all know trust takes years. Takes a very, very long time. Now, life is not perfect, okay? And it would be ideal if 100% of the times the person will trust the right person. But very often, the truster places trust in the wrong person. Sometimes the truster withholds trust from the right person. I should have trusted you. and the truster does not. And sometimes the truster trusts the right person. So there's different combinations there. And the reason why there is misplaced, a disjointed trust relationship is because of noise. And in my area of expertise, because I'm interested in trust across cultural boundaries, the two reasons why there is so much noise, there's so much distraction, there are so many challenges and obstacles, is that we enter the relationship thinking from my perspective, the perspective of my culture. And that's the problem. I give you an example. Smiling. Is smiling good or bad? Generally good, right? But if I tell you that if you are going to a negotiation and you smile just too much, it will cause noise. Mr. Roberto, does that mean that it's going to break the deal? No, it's not that much, but it will cause noise. Unnecessary distraction. I have two more examples, three more examples at the end. But I just want to tell you that this noise comes from our belief that I am acting trustworthy based on my cultural norms. If you grew up in Lahore, there are certainly ways, mannerisms, characteristics that people in the community would associate as being trustworthy, and vice versa. But if you go to my country, I guarantee you that the same behavior might and probably will trigger different interpretations of that. So egocentrism, thinking from my perspective as an individual, and ethnocentrism, thinking, behaving, believing that normal is what my culture has offered me, is two of the main causes of this noise when people are trying to build trust. And the list goes on. We don't have time. But this is going to give you a taste of the two things that complicate matters. So I introduced you this idea of intercultural capacity for trustworthiness. What is your capacity for trustworthiness? High or low? There are four components of one's individual intercultural capacity for trustworthiness. Your ability to play the role of the trustee. Because you have control over that, don't you? You have control over how you can behave. And you have the ability to behave, to adapt your behavior across cultures. So let me give you high level, because there's a lot that can be said behind these things. But just high level, the four components that, as a takeaway, you can start thinking as you are communicating with people from different cultural backgrounds. And that doesn't need to be from different nationalities, because countries are very diverse in themselves. Okay? So the first one is the awareness of what it means to be a trustee. Many people in my interviews, I interview people from all over the world, from all different walks of life. Some people never thought about being trustee. People say, I don't care, I'm going to just be spontaneous. I'm going to just be my good self, and whoever wants to trust me, who doesn't know. And some people say, no, I take it very seriously, I prepare. I think about who I'm going to deal with. I think about what is the probability of my behavior coming across in a negative tone. So this awareness is not present in all of us equally. Some people are much more meta-aware, aware of my own behavior. So that's step number one. So one thing you can do is start thinking as a trustee in all your relationships, especially, particularly, those that involve people who are from different cultural backgrounds. The second one is knowledge, cultural knowledge. You may not be able to understand the culture of all countries, all societies in the world, so you need to rely on someone to explain to you what smiling means. I work a lot in Cambodia. Cambodia is one of the most smiley countries in the world. You walk on the street, everybody is smiling. They smile at the strangers, it doesn't matter, because this is the way to keep the harmony in society. I try smiling in my home country, Singapore, And I fear people will call the police. Because they might be thinking, what the heck is this guy smiling at me for? So smiling has to be calibrated in order to convey the right degree of credibility and trust. So knowledge of the different cultural norms is extremely important. I'm aware of my role as trustee, but I also now need to do hard work. Read, talk to people to say, if I do this with my hands, does that distract people? Oh yeah, don't do that. So all those small things are very, very important. The third element that we find in our research then becomes the motivation. The motivation to actually intentionally signal that trustworthiness. So now you have someone who may be very much aware, someone who is knowledgeable about cultural differences, but is this person motivated? Is this person willing to put in the effort to change one's behavior, to adapt? That's a different story altogether, because there are some people who are very good at number one and number two and stop at number three. They say, yeah, but too much trouble. I'm not willing to put in all the effort, the mental, the cognitive energy into that. And the last one is the ability to adjust one's behavior. And that's the only thing that I see on the other person. I don't know what's going on in your mind, right? I don't know how much concerned you are about conveying trustworthiness to me. I don't know how much knowledge you have about what I consider to be trustworthy. I don't know how much motivated you are. So the only thing that I can see is the behavior. So now you got 4 different levels that combined give you an index, a degree of your capacity to properly act as a good trustee. And remember, you are a trustee for the truster. Your behavior is not based on what you think is good. You are not paying attention to what it is normal in your society, in the groups that you belong to. And this is very, very hard, because it just racks our brain. Isn't that, it's so normal. If I do this, I'm used to that. And now you're working with someone who is very different. It takes a lot of cognitive energy, psychological energy to adapt one's behavior to do it. So it's easier said than done. The capacity for trustworthiness is very hard, but those who have developed over time this capacity have proven to be a lot more successful. Does it guarantee your deal? Does it guarantee new clients? Of course not. The world's much more complex than that. But it does give you a much better shot at coming across, reducing that noise, and allowing people to pay attention on what you are saying, as opposed on the way that your hands are moving, or the way you are dressing, or the way you are not communicating. So I will wrap up my brief remarks, and I will open up to some questions from all of you, giving you 3 examples that come up to me over and over and over again. There are 2 blocks of societies. One society is what we call low context. Other societies are called high context. Pakistan is a high context. Why? Because relationships are intrinsically important in everything you do. Is who you know, who introduced you to. This is high context. Relationships are number 1. Low context societies, they are much more based on facts. Send me the documents, send your CV, your resume, your credentials. Low context people communicate directly. Imagine an arrow. Question, answer. Question, answer. Facts, number, percentages. High context, storytelling. Tell me a story, I give you a lot of context to it. This might seem to be a very superficial difference. This is the number one cause of much confusion in the world. Because people who are socialized to communicate in a linear way, direct to the point, they're doing business with people who are used to telling a story, leaving some information ambiguous because you should know who I am, it's a cause for a lot of trouble. It can be simple problems, can be big ones. So the three examples that will come next, they appear very often when people involved in the communication come from these different areas, different type of societies. So some examples, three examples of trustworthy signals that are impacted by culture. Number one is flattery, okay, in public. Someone praising someone in public. It might seem something innocuous. It might actually be necessary in some societies in order to build trust. In other societies, this is a killer. It's a killer, right? To praise someone in public, to say good things, to add adjectives about someone in public, for some members of some societies might be no go. Never do that. Cannot do that. Keep it in private. If I am good, people will find out. No need to broadcast. Okay? Number two. We call it mitigated speech. A question, yes, no, and the answer is perhaps. Let's see, let's try, let's give our best. I'm not sure. Do you like that? Yes, yes, it's good, but maybe you can take a look. Mitigated speech is the polished speech. In some societies, that's how we survive. We cannot tell it like it is. We have to allow people to read between the lines. Some other societies, they expect direct. Do you like or you don't like? Mitigated speech then can be interpreted as trustworthy or untrustworthy, depending on the society you are interacting with. Okay? The last one, monitoring. Okay, we shook hands. We are now going to start to implement whatever it is. Now we're going to be handling the cases for your clients. Some clients overseas, they may expect updates even when there are no updates to be given. Nothing is happening, but you still send that email. Mr. Roberto, nothing happened. It's still there with the court. You're still waiting for the documents to come to me. That degree of expectation of how much monitoring, how much control needs to be present in a relationship is highly, highly influenced by societal norms, by culture. So just for the time that I have with you, 3 examples. Think about them. Think about how do you behave in terms of praising someone in public, about how direct or indirect you answer questions from your clients, and also how much controls, how much monitoring you put upon yourself to give peace of mind to your clients. I'm not saying that there is one right way, but I'm saying that you have to rack your brain to think about what is the truster's expectations of you. That's why I have been placing you in the seat of the trustee. So with those remarks, I will finish my quick commentary about this fascinating topic that impacts all of us. It impacts you, it impacts me, it impacts all of us in our family life, in our business life. So I hope my comments will at least give you something to think about in the future, and I'm more than willing to answer questions about my experience working with people from different societies. Thank you very much. Shukriya.
Thank you very much, sir. Roberto Vale, Professor Cultural Studies, for such a wonderful transition. Excellent piece of work, sir. आज का जो सेमिनार है वो माशाल्लाह सिबुल आखन साहब चेयरमैन है कमेटी के, उन्होंने ऑर्गेनाइज किया है। इसमें मैडम अमरीन वली है कोऑर्डिनेटर है और ज़काउल रहमान साहब भी कोऑर्डिनेटर है। क्वेश्चन आंसर का सिलसिले के लिए रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा शाहद से कि वो माइक जो है वो दे दें।
my question is, do we need to understand that trust literally according to its meaning, or we need to understand that trust according to the different cultures? Maybe here we mean by trust in some different way, in other culture the trust means different way. In our culture, we understand that to be courteous is good, to be courteous